Okay, so once again, good day everyone. And now let's move on to the solving part in our vertical displacement. Okay, so sige, simulan na natin to. Again, if you want to answer these problems, all you need to do is first to somewhat take note of the numerical na mga, what do you call that? The numerical parameters. Okay, so we have here a 10 kilo and 2 seconds, of which they are our given. Okay, now another one is the implicit given. Now this was given to you last time dun sa ating horizontal na displacement. And whenever there is an implicit given, meaning there is a hidden given in the sentence. And on this one, of course, that is from rest. Okay? So meaning the initial velocity is 0. Okay? Now, let's answer this number 1 and number 2. Of course, number 1, your 10 kilogram is your mass. 2 seconds is your time. And then the implicit given is your initial velocity, y, of which is 0. Okay? 0 meters per second. Next. Next, identify the unknown. Determine the distance, of course. If the distance is the unknown, of course, the unit for distance is delta y. Okay? So, bakit? Kasi it's vertical. Okay? So that's your unknown. Okay? So the ingredients of your the solution or the equation, okay, are the following. Kasi determining the ingredients of your equation will surely help you pick out the best formula that you need here. Okay? Now, earlier we have 10, we have from rest, we have 2 seconds. Okay? So therefore, we already have our VI, our M, though that's not really included naman talaga. Okay? 2 seconds, our time. Okay? Actually, there is also another implicit given that is not stated here. And it should always be here. And that is your G. Okay? Now, this G is very important. Okay? That is your 9.81. Okay? Meaning, whenever a vertical, what do you call that? A vertical displacement problem arises or is present, okay? The G should always be there. Okay? So, meaning, we also have our G. And again, our unknown of which is our V initial Y. Now, if I'm going to ask you guys kung ano ang pinakamagandang formula rito, it should include these ingredients. And with that being said, the formula that perfectly plugs in all of these ingredients is this formula number 3. Why? You have your Y. Okay? You have your distance. Kasi yun ang hinahanap natin eh. The distance, not our delta Y. You have your distance. You have your initial velocity. You have your time. You have your G. Okay? So, kumbaga, na doble lang pala to, sorry. Okay? So, meaning, everything is already here. And it probably, or this formula will probably help you in solving the equation or the unknown. So, that's our formula. Formula number 3. Okay, there you go. Now, let's move to the solving part. Okay, let's try to substitute the values. Okay, so the formula is already here. So we'll just plug them in. Initial velo, time, our G. Again, this a negative symbol denotes that the motion is going downward, and then our time. Okay, now don't forget that it has a square, of course, based on the formula. Kaya meron siya nun. Okay, that's the square right there. Here. Okay, so going back, that's our formula substitution. And then, of course, we need to answer it. So, I hope that you are, or you do have your calculators with you para ma-answeran mo itong question na ito. Okay? So, for the unknown, okay? So, I hope that your Y is also 20 meters. Okay? So, I believe the exact value is 19.6. I believe. Okay? So, but anyways, 20 is the answer here. And our conclusion, it should be a worded conclusion. The distance the block will have covered after 2 seconds is 20 meters. Okay, so that's our answer. The time is here. the negative value implies that the motion is downward. And we already discussed that a couple of lessons back. Okay? So, if the motion is downward, or if we will be referring to a Cartesian plane, a downward vertical orientation will always be a negative. Okay? So, that's our answer right there. Now, let's move on to the next one. Okay? Now, a coin is dropped from rest off of a cliff that is 6 meters high. How much time will it take for the coin to reach the ground, and what will be its velocity? So here we do have two unknowns. Okay? How much time and what will be the velocity? So we need to find here two things. Okay? Now, dahan-dahanin lang natin. Let's identify the given first. Okay? Now, earlier, we introduced that G is an implicit given. So here, it is already present. Oops, sorry. It is already present right here. And our G, of course, is 9.81. Then our delta Y, okay? So let's look at the delta Y. Again, delta Y is our vertical distance. Vertical distance. Okay. So our vertical distance, of course, that is 6 meters. Okay? Again, the negative symbol indicates that it is downward. Okay? Okay, masyadong malito at masyadong parang, let's say, ma-confuse. Okay? Or mag-panic with that negative symbol. That only indicates that the motion is going downward. And then our implicit given, again, from rest. We all know what this mean or what this means. Itong ating from rest. So the value of our VIY is always 0. Again, kasi nga, from rest. Okay? Let's move on. What are the unknowns that we have? Again, nasabi natin yan kanina, our time and our velo. Now, let's compute. Okay. Solve for the final velocity. Okay? Now, probably you may be wondering, Sir, bakit naman po natin sinolve muna ang velocity bago ang time? Okay? Kasi, for us to solve for the final velocity first, okay, mas madali. Okay? Madali kasing kumuha ng final velocity, okay, because we do have some formula na medyo limited lang in terms of the final velo. Okay? So again, medyo limited lang ang ating formula na mayroong final velo. So that's why, uunahin muna natin isolve ang velocity. Now, for us to solve for the final velocity, okay, ano ang gusto ninyo or ano ang parang pinaka-perfect na formula? We have our VI, we have our delta Y, we have our G, and we have our VY. Again, these are the 4 ingredients to solve for the final velo. O, anong pinakamagandang formula kaya? Okay, so the best formula is, of course, the fourth one. Okay? The fourth one. Bakit na may fourth one? Meron siyang final velo, meron siyang G, meron siyang delta Y, at meron siyang initial velo. Okay? Again, hindi naman po dito or kumbaga parang, Sir, bakit hindi na lang yung hindi na lang yung time? But hindi na lang tayo kumuha, sir, ng formula na merong time na daan or meron na agad time para makuha natin siya agad, sir. If that is what you want, you will be facing an equation with 2 unknowns. And that is somewhat difficult, no, to solve, especially na mano-mano ang ginagawa natin. Okay? If you know the calculator technique of it, better. But here, right now, we need to solve for the final velo because that final velo is the one that we will be inserting into another equation that has time. Okay? Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, wala talagang time dito. Kasi, kung ano man yung isasagot natin dyan, or kung ano man ang maging answer nito, yan ang ipapasok natin sa bagong formula na naman na gagamitin natin para mahanap ang time. I hope that you get what I'm saying. So, we will be using 2 sets of formula para masagutan ito. Okay? So, again, this is our first formula. Now, this formula will just let us find the final velo. Ito yun, ha? Wala pang time. Mamaya na yung time. Okay? Huwag tayo masyadong gigil at nagmamadali. Now, let's try to solve it. substitute for the values. O, substitute mo lang kung ano ang nakalagay dito. Okay? So, again, our final value is yet to be determined. Okay? But we do have our 2 na constant here, our G, again, it's a downward motion, okay, or a downward acceleration, kaya negative. Our negative 6, that's our delta Y or our vertical distance, and our initial is 0. Sige, isolve sa CalQ. Pindutin nyo sa CalQ para malaman natin kung ano agad ang inyong answer. And to solve for the final velocity, ayan na ha, na-cancel na yung 0. Okay? And then, magkakaroon to ng value. But that's not the final answer ha, because look at the final value right here. It has the squared, or it has the exponent na 2, meaning we need to find its square root then, okay, for us to get the final answer. Okay? So, what is the value? Okay. So, the value is 117.6. Okay, but again, we need to find the square root of it for us to find the final value, of which is negative 10.8 meter per second. Again, do not panic. Pag nakakita kayo ng isang negative symbol, it only means that, okay, the negative indicates the downward movement. Okay? So, baka naman magpanik ka, bakit negative ang value niyan? It's okay. Kasi nga, the negative symbol only denotes that the movement is downward. Okay? Now, we already have the final value. Let's go to the next one. And that is the time. Okay, let's find the perfect formula for the time. Of course, hindi na ito yun. Okay, nagamit na natin yan eh. And wala naman siyang time parameter. So, meaning, we will not use it. O, anong formula ang pinakamaganda dito? We have, again, our initial value, our distance, the G, the final value, and the time. What is the most perfect formula that we can use here? Ano? 1, 2, or 3? Of course, yung ating first one. Kayo naman. Kaya, minsan kasi, no? Minsan, ang nangyayari kasi sa atin, okay, baka gusto natin yung pinakamahihirap. Whereas, okay, meron naman minsan mga madadali lang para makuha ito. Okay? So, we don't need na pala the delta Y because for us to find the time, okay, we do have a lot of options. And probably, all of those options will give us the same answer. But, to make things easy, to make things not complicated, kunin na natin yung formula na makakapagpuno naman ng mga given na meron tayo. Meron ka namang G, meron ka namang initial value, meron ka namang final value. Now, probably, you may be wondering saan nanggaling ito, ha? Itong 0 na to is just the same with yung parang symbol na I, meaning initial. Okay? Same lang yan. Ito kasi 0, meaning initial as well. Okay? Or from rest. Therefore, 0. Anyway, again, we do have already our final value. Okay, one moment. That's not it. Di ko rin siya ma-undo, ano? We already have our final value, our initial value of 0. And meron na rin tayong G. So, madali na lang kunin ang T. Okay? So, sige, let's go ahead and get our T. Okay, let's substitute the values. Again, final value, negative 10.8. Our initial value, 0. And then 9.8. And then our T. Next. Okay? So, ito na ang ating, equation. Now, for us to somewhat, solve for the T, okay, all we need to do is, kanina to yung 0, no, of course, mawala na yan, maka-cancel out na yan. And then, next is for us to, again, divide the both sides to the one that is beside the variable that we need to find. And that is itong negative 9.8. So, divide lang natin to sa negative 9.8. I-divide lang din natin to sa negative 9.8. And that leaves us with our t or time value. Sige nga, habang nagsasalita ako, please answer it. Go! I'll just give you 3 seconds. Madali lang naman yan i-type sa CalQ. So, our time value should be, magkano? 1.1 seconds. Okay? So, yan ang ating magiging time. Okay? So, again, we already solved for the final velo and the time. Again, lastly, for our conclusion, okay, so pagsama-samahin na natin lahat, the time it took the coin to reach the ground is 1.1 seconds and it had a velocity of negative 1.08 times 10 raised to 1 meter per second. Again, the negative symbol indicates that the movement is downward.